Call the meeting order. Begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Otter, call on the roll, please.
Mr. Thacker, Ms. Weger,
Here.
Ms. Thies,
Here.
Mr. Norris,
Here.
Ms. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Thompson,
Here.
Mr. Loudermilk.
Here. Thank you, Mr. Otter. It should be noted for the record that Councilman Thacker had sent an email just prior to the meeting saying he had an issue he had to deal with that would not allow him to be here tonight. So, with that said, move on to public comment. Ask that those that would like to speak during public comment, please approach the podium, state your name and address, and sign in with the paper provided at the podium. All comments and communications should be limited to tonight's agenda items. With that, I would open up this portion for public comment. There's no one like to speak at this time. Communications from elected officials, other officials or agencies of the county. Does anyone like to speak at this time?
Yeah, I'd like to make at least one comment that the county has anticipations of things. Last year was able to give 4% pay increase, and this year, my understanding is you're looking at 2.5%. Plus, we had substantial increase in health insurance, which there was that's been passed along to the county's coffers, not to the employees' coffers. So there has been some efforts put forward to accommodate all of the employees of the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Morris.
Thank you, Council President. Brendan Kearns, Commissioner, District 1. I'm here today to kind of share some sentiments, if I may. I had a tailgate conversation coming here with many of our Highway Department employees, our very valued Highway Department employees who are out there making sure our roads are safe every day. They're digging our ditches. They're doing the work that probably a lot of us can't do nor want to do. General concern is that, you know, recognition of the increased utility costs that we just heard about for the third time, I think, in 3 years. Inflation, cost of living, we all deal with these same issues. Increases are going up. The generous pay increase that you advocated for at 2.5% isn't where we need to be. And I think there's some confusion amongst many employees as to whether or not that increase has already been approved. If there's thought that your pay increases are going to be at the next meeting. So I'm here to share that with you, that there's a communication gap somewhere there where some people think that you are approving a potential 2.5% pay increase versus already being approved. So I need to share that. A lot of these discussions, we talk about surrounding counties. Vigo County is central to Vigo, Vermilion, Clay. We have a few counties over in across our state border. It's been consistent. Those pay increases have been about 4%. So Vigo County, considered one of the leaders in this region, are 1.5% lower than Clay County, in Park, and Sullivan. The city of Terre Haute, the city council, and the mayor are working together to get their employees a 4% increase. Commissioner Morris laid out something very important. The three commissioners, Commissioner Schweitzer, Morris, and I, and previously me and Brad Anderson, Judy Anderson, we worked diligently with your help to keep our insurance costs down. We are 100% self-insured up to $100,000. We have worked with our providers to not have high increases to pass on to our employees and their loved ones that are on our insurance plan. All of us in this room, elected and caucused in, have worked hard to maximize those benefits for our employees. A lot of our guys here, what's important to them is that extra percentage right now. They appreciate our work with the insurance, but you know the insurance is only valuable if you use it. We have good investments. We have decent investments. We're very good to our employees, and I try to share that as much as I can. What I'm hearing now is they need an increase in pay. And to a lot of them, that extra 1.5 makes a big difference. It makes a big difference in their personal lives, their home lives. Financial stress is a key indicator to family issues. I would like for you to consider, wherever, if it's a 2.5 set in stone now, I would like for you to consider increasing the pay for next year's budget to 4%. 5% if we can, but I know we need to be reasonable. Calissa had a great comment. Where's the money going to come from? I don't know. You guys have been great with the budget committee. You've made cuts where you felt is necessary. Hopefully those cuts compared to our revenue stream affords us that opportunity to give them that 4% raise. We're in tough spots. And I know I've talked to Councilwoman Wager, Councilwoman Fees, Councilman Thacker, and Councilman Norris. I've had a chance to talk to them. I haven't had a chance to talk to you guys yet, mainly because it just didn't happen. I don't want this to be a surprise by any means, but I know that you are all engaged with our employees, with your constituents. You know that this is a concern. So as commissioner, and more importantly, as a citizen of Vigo County who appreciates all of our employees' hard work, I would like for you to consider doing a 4% pay increase for this year. Thank you.
Okay. Council President Loudermilk, members of the council, I agree with Commissioner Kearns. A 4% raise would be great for our employees at this time to match child care and inflation. So appreciate that.
Any comments from council? Yes. Councilman Wager?
I hope that you fellows and ladies here know that I have always fought for higher pay for our employees. We had all those years when we did not have any raise at all, and that set us back a big bunch of steps, and we've tried hard to bring us up to speed so that we had a living wage. I would love to see us at 4% if we can't match 5%. I know I'm outnumbered. I've talked like a good fella to try to get us up there, and if there's anything we can do, that's where I want to be. That's all I got to say about that.
Councilman Norris, would you like to speak? Councilman Wilson? Councilman Thompson?
I can elaborate on this a little bit, Brendan. So as a member of the Budget Committee, when we were going through all this stuff, our number one holdup on everything was Baker Tilly. And I know everybody's tired of hearing that. We chose to go with Baker Tilly, and they haven't gotten anything back. That was we had talked about, I think we went from 1% maybe to 3%. Is that correct, Councilwoman Thies? I don't know if we looked at any numbers higher than that. That is what we based our numbers on, unfortunately, and we settled on 2.5 at that time. That was the recommendation. Nothing's been finalized yet, I guess, but just so everybody in this room knows, that's what the holdup was on anything higher than that.
Councilman Wilson?
I'm just curious, have we heard any more back from Baker Tilly with any kind of estimate on when they'll be?
No, we have not heard back anything recently. We had sent out to departments the grades for their, departments for the employees, positions in there. And we received some feedback from the departments. We had forwarded it to Baker Tilly. And they sent back a full log sheet of all the requests and emails that were received. And both Kara and I had asked them to reach out to the departments that had questions, or that they had questions with, and they didn't understand what they were asking. They chose not to do that, said that it was not within the scope of the project, and so Kara and I took that on. And I sent, for the departments that had questions, and there were several, I reached out to each one of those departments by email with the list of questions that they had, and I got the last of them back today, and I forwarded to Baker Tilly, along with all of the results of questions, with responses to the questions. And I've not heard anything back from them. I sent the earliest one maybe last Wednesday, the 28th or 29th.
I don't know if I can speak for everybody else up here, but I'm with you guys. I'm frustrated I'll get out with Baker Tilly. We should have had results before we even began working on the budget. And who knows how long it's going to take. It's just really frustrating.
President Loudermilk, can I request something?
Yes, Councilwoman Thies.
Okay. Just so we have the information completely in front of us, and I remember kind of scrambling at the last one. I don't have any of my budget stuff with me. But if you remember the sheet where we had it broken down, I think we did go 1, 2, 3, and I thought we did go to 4. We may have, if we could have something like that. Do you remember what sheet I'm talking about, Calissa? If we could have that even kind of emailed to us so that the council can kind of see the breakdown of what that does between each of them and how that impacts the budget, I think that would be helpful. I don't know if we could just have that emailed or what would be the best way, but,
I'll go through and I'll update that.
okay, thank you.
So, for purposes of discussion, and I guess maybe this is for you, Mr. Effner, just for purposes of discussion moving forward in process, if there was some type of discussion to change what we've already moved forward with currently, what would that look like in order to make any amendments or any changes to the salary ordinances? Or I guess to the, specifically maybe even to the raise itself?
Yeah. I guess, first of all, you would not be able to exceed the total published budget.
Right.
Okay? You could exceed portions of the budget. It would require, I believe, it required 5 votes of the council in order to do that. Or more than a majority. It's actually 3/4, but then it's rounded to the highest. So it would require 5 votes to be part of the budget that does not exceed the total published budget.
Yes.
The council adopted the budget in September, and it had all the appropriations in there for the budget.
Right.
And you cannot amend the 2023 budget in 2022, so any appropriation amendments would have to happen in 2023. You could adopt an amended, or you could adopt the salary ordinance at a different rate than the appropriations, but then you would have to then make all the adjustments in 23.
Council, could I pose a question? How do we give the jailers a raise in the middle of the year? How'd that happen?
What she's saying is that it cannot be done in 2022. Okay.
But you changed the jailer's pay in 2022 in the middle of the year?
That was based upon the 2022 budget in 2022. Now, it's the same thing if it were changed in 2023, which it can be. But she's saying it has to be done in 2023.
There are two parts to the salary and payroll. One is a salary ordinance that sets the rate of pay, and you also have an appropriation that funds your salary ordinance. The appropriation portion was already passed for 2023, and it cannot be amended until we're in the same calendar year.
How did you give the jailers a pay for a year?
Are you, but we're not talking about the same thing at this point. Are you wanting to amend 2022 or are you wanting to amend 2023? There have been other amendments in the current year, and that's possible. So in that, you had to amend the salary ordinance and do an additional appropriation to fund the salary ordinance.
So what would need to be done is amended 2022 right now. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying in order to change what has already been appropriated for 2023 in salaries, would have to wait until 2023 to amend. The salary ordinance can still be changed in 2022.
That's just what I said. So the salary ordinance could be amended tonight for 2022.
No, well, there's no request amendment for 2022, and it's a non-voting meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I wish, I don't know if Commissioner Kearns, if you were aware of this in advance. I wish this would have been a topic that we could have maybe addressed outside the meeting so we would have had some clear understanding and answers and numbers to speak about. I think it would have been more productive for everyone, for sure. It's unfortunate that it's occurred this way.
I agree, and as I keep looking back to our guys, I was there at the North Shop for, 3 to 4? And then I learned about this as they were leaving, that they were all coming to the meeting. So we had a tailgate conversation, and we talked about this. They're not asking tonight to be raised 4%. What they're asking is to be heard that they feel that the 2.5%, while generous, 4% is what's needed right now. Every single one of these guys, almost every single one's looking for other jobs. They're looking at other salaries. We just did something great for Steel Dynamics. We gave them a big push, a big incentive. Average salaries there are $80,000 a year. Every single one of these guys can work at Steel Dynamics, and they know that. We gave that company a very large $500 million tax incentive to pay people $80,000 a year. We owe it to our own employees to pay them a fair and equitable wage to keep them. So I am sorry, President Loudermilk, I don't like this either. If I was up there right now, I would not like this. But
I suppose the concern is, though, for me, you said you spoke with 4 council members and left 3 out of that discussion.
on the way here, and I shared with David that I meant to, I did this, guys, on the way here driving. I made calls. Yeah, and please don't turn this on me. I'm here to advocate for all employees in the county. This is not a vote for tonight. You know that.
I'm well aware, yes, I am.
Okay.
So I think what would be best is to have discussions with the men in this room and women in this room that had the concerns. I'm happy to meet with people and discuss it with them. I mean, I don't think, like I said, I think this would have been a more productive situation had we been able to do that in advance of this meeting. And I'm happy to meet with anybody at any time to discuss that. I truly am. I understand what you're saying about Steel Dynamics. There's a lot of us not happy with the way that's gone.
Right.
It was $250 million investment, and there are,
But
I would
there's
say,
more- there's
I'd
more
say
to
most of
come.
these people in here, yes, could go get those jobs without question, and they are valued. But we need to figure out a solution here
Sure.
that I don't think we're going to get right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I think I think it would be correct to say that if we gave an across-the-board raise, that wouldn't be affected by Baker Tilly. Would that be correct, Mr. Bramble? The Baker Tilly report, that wouldn't affect an across-the-board raise, would it?
I don't know how, what Baker Tilly, I think, is doing is.
Individual,
Yeah,
yeah. So across the board, what the heck?
categorizing certain positions.
Right.
If you're just going flat across the board, I don't,
So that
See
wouldn't
how
even
that-
matter. That would just that would lift the
That-
whole boat.
yeah.
Would that be correct? Would you think, would that be right?
They did not want to create additional problems of not knowing what was out there and what was gonna happen. So instead of not giving anything while we're waiting on Baker Tilly, they wanted to move forward, at least do 2.5%.
Well, I mean, I think, but we know by the end of the year, we're gonna have, cash balance of, $19 or $20 million. So we're not gonna be destitute. Would that be correct, Mr. Assessor?
I would,
We're not gonna be broke.
I believe that, but that's not in my wheelhouse. My question is and I do know you guys have a very tough job doing the budget, is a very tough job finding the money. My only question is, everyone knows you paid for a Baker Tilly study. And I do understand it's a work in progress. It's not completed. Kara and Calissa, I believe, are going back and forth with them. But at this stage in the game, I'm assuming they have already done some preliminaries and they've gotten us close. They're just trying to answer the questions. So my question to you is, has anyone on the council seen the preliminary findings of the study so that you might have some idea of what it might do in the future? I'd also like to say that I do know there's been a couple other counties at conference that we had discussions with that have went with Baker Tilly on doing a compensation study. And because it was going to be looking at as such a drastic change, what they're doing is doing it in a step process. I think one of them was a 5-year step process. Each area got a percentage of what Baker Tilly said it should be, plus cost of living, and they're going to do that for 5 years to get them up to where the study says they're supposed to be. Like I say, comment and question one is, has anybody seen it? Maybe that's a good idea, so you at least have an idea what it might look like. And then the other thing is, maybe you can look toward those lines. But that was it. Thank you, Council.
I haven't seen anything.
So, Kevin, on those plans that you're talking about, so they're going to gradually increase to get to the recommended amount over a 5-year period?
Yes. If Baker Tilly showed that a position should be, let's say, 30% higher than what it currently is,
Right.
then they're gradually going to increase that, let's say, 10% or 5% for the next so many years to get it to that increase, to make it easier on the budget and easier to project.
What if it's a smaller percentage? I mean, is there a threshold there? Do you know? So if
That
it
I
was a
did-
6%, for
Yeah,
example?
we didn't go into all that. I just know they said it's going to be a step process. It was, I think, a 5-year step process to get them to where the study said they should be.
What counties are doing that?
Let me check my notes, and I'll get back with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, and
Councilman
have they
Loudermilk.
received their Baker Tilly results back?
Excuse
They've
me?
obviously received their Baker Tilly.
The 2 counties that I talked to had said they had already gotten their study back. I do believe that in the conversation, they were also delayed. I don't think they got it back as soon as they were expecting to get it back, but supposedly the findings came out that way.
Thank you,
Kevin.
Kevin.
Kevin, when you send those across, can you make sure that that we all get them, that the whole council gets them?
Anything
either
I-
us or Calissa, and she can forward them out, please.
That's fine. I'll send it to Calissa and she can make sure all of you get it.
Thank you.
Just for clarification too, the studies that they received back did include a percentage increase recommendation? The counties that have received their study back from Baker Tilly, it did include a percentage increase recommendation?
I just do that out there as an example. What it said was, this position should make this, which
Okay.
is what our study's supposed to be doing.
Okay.
But then you can break that down to percent. I mean, if
Sure.
it's,
I just wanted to make sure that that was clarified, that it did make a recommendation
it
on
did make a recommendation of
salaries.
what their salary should be.
Okay.
And then those counties broke that down so that they could step it up over the next so many years.
So it's not just by what the category should be, it
No,
does recommend
it's not a
salary
flat
increase.
percentage for everybody. It was the steps to get it to where it should be.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Councilman Loudermilk. One of the things that I had suggested was to do it similarly to what we had to do for the probation officers. If you remember, well, Mitch, actually, I don't think any of you were here, but we implemented probation officers on a salary schedule. It's a state salary schedule. And anyway, what it happened was if they were over, the increase was more than 15% of what they were making, you had to give a minimum of 15%. And then you kept doing that till they caught up. So I believe it's one of my discussions with Councilman Thompson, we kind of talked about that when we were talking about budget issues, looking at something like that, which would be similar to what Kevin's talking about. But you could set your percentage at whatever you wanted. And I can send you the implementation rules for the salary schedule for the probation officers, and that's a state schedule.
Anything additional from council? Thank you. Moving on, first reading by summary reference of proposed ordinances and resolutions. ROC 2022-42, additional appropriation 2022-32, guarding ad litem, payroll salary. ROC 2022-42, salary ordinance 2022-18, juvenile court, delete full-time administrative assistant. ROC 2022-42, salary ordinance 2022-19, juvenile court, add full-time staff CASA. ROC 2022-43, ordinance adopting County of Vigo, Indiana salary schedule and compensation policies. ROC 2022-44, ordinance adopting County of Vigo, Indiana salary schedule and compensation policies of merit officers. ROC 2022-45, ordinance adopting County of Vigo, Indiana salary schedule and compensation policies of elected officials. And that is the first reading by summary reference. Reports from committees, there are none. Resolutions and ordinances other than appropriation. We have all three, as stated. I'll just read those together. Ordinance adopting County of Vigo, Indiana salary schedule and compensation policies, ROC 2022-43. Ordinance adopting County of Vigo, Indiana salary schedule and compensation policies of merit officers, ROC 2022-44. Ordinance adopting County of Vigo, Indiana salary schedule and compensation policies of elected officials, ROC 2022-45. So those begin on page 4 for the salary schedule and compensation policies. Looks like page 27 begins the salary schedule and compensation policies of the merit officers. And if you go to page 36, appears we have the salary schedule compensation policies of the elected officials. So hopefully, for purposes of discussion, everyone has had the opportunity to review that information. Much of the language will be similar to the 2022 salary ordinance, with the exception of updated amounts and dates. So you'll see the changes for the dates and also the actual amounts. So I would offer this time for discussion.
It doesn't appear as if the highlighting,
No, I cannot find any
Copy.
highlights that came through
yeah,
on
it
these
didn't
copies.
copy in the,
No.
it's in black and white. I can tell you the first one is in C, and it is the percentage. 22's changed to 20, or 22 was changed from 21, and then the adoption date was changed.
So she's on page 4, for those
Yes.
trying to find. Section C, so it's
Yes.
simply the date has changed from last
There's,
year.
year changes in F, G, I changed and it was added. After and effective January 1, 2023, the rate of compensation for those positions will reflect a 2.5% increase over the 22 base rates. L, there's a date change, because I missed it, should have been, for 23 instead of 22. And the numbers were updated from 22 to 23 rates with 2.5% increase. N includes increases, 2.5% for part-time people to all the various rates in A, B, C, D, and E. And that would be all the changes to that document. And then the following pages that are attached to it are all the rates for all the positions at a 2.5% increase. And on page 27, which is the merit officers, again, in C on page 27, 2.5% was highlighted as a change. It was changed to from 21 to 22 for the increase, and then the adoption date was changed, effective January 1 of 2023. H, the rates for the sheriff/road deputy was updated by the 2.5%, and the longevity max was increased to include at the new rate, since it's a percentage. And, one more I missed on G. Lieutenant went from 4 to 5 because of the amendment that was made to the salary ordinance for the jail matron. And that is, I believe that's all for that document. And then page 36. Well, maybe 37. 37. Again, same thing in B, reflects 2.5% increase over 22 instead of 21 rate, and the adoption date and the effective date were amended. And that's all the changes for that document.
Any questions or comments from council? Any comments? Appears there are none. No comments? I'll move on. There aren't. Ordinances relating to appropriations. We have additional appropriation 2022-32, ROC 2022-42, Guardian ad litem, payroll salary. Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm before you this evening, distinguished council members, again. Not in very happy place right now. I came to you in March of last year asking for 2 full-time positions because at that time we were alerted that VOCA was going to be cutting our funding. I appeared before you in March, then I appeared before you again in June. And in March, I received a favorable vote for you in supporting the 2 full-time positions so that I could turn in my funding to VOCA to show that the county was going to assist with sustainability for our program by absorbing the 2 full-time positions. We received our VOCA grant, we were cut massively, and then turned around and second round of cuts received another $10,000 cut. They took away all of the mileage for the VOCA staff. In the June 22 meeting, again, I was before council telling you about that we had the cut, and then also notifying you with facts and figures and following of documentation that our state funding had then also been cut by $40,000, and how these 2 positions were crucial to our program so that we could maintain a wait list that we have obliterated in less than 2 years, all of the progress that we have made in our program, and how if we lose these 2 positions, I was immediately going to lose staffing on October 1st, and we were going to put hundreds of children back on a wait list that we had been able to get rid of, that this program had had for over 30 years. September 13th, I was not able to be here due to a heart problem. I was in the hospital and received notification that those 2 positions had been voted down. At the June before you, I was told that I would need to appropriate funds because we were going to cover the full-time positions for the remainder of the year so that the council could pick up the positions in 2023. So I was told to appropriate the remaining of those full-time positions for the end of the year in September. I had filed that appropriation, which is before you, but due to the 2 positions not being voted on September 13th and denied, I now have to change that appropriation and ask for what I need for the remainder of the year to keep my part-time staff in play. Then come 2023, I will have to make additional appropriations so that I don't lose any more staff, so that I don't lose 6 staff members. Currently, right now, I have no operating budget for next year because those two positions that I was going to pull up would have allowed for that $43,000 that I needed. Currently, right now, going into 2023, I am operating in a deficit of $94,000, negative. And that is with an additional loss of 5 staff members. Each one of my staff members that I have right now that are staff CASAs carry a caseload of 25 to 30 cases. That's not children, that's cases. That means that anywhere they could range from 75 to 100 children that they're seeing. Currently, right now, my program has 1,000 children that we are serving. And I'm doing that with 37 volunteers, and I'm doing it with 15 staff members. I have to lower the appropriation from the original amount to the $6,000 so that way I can at least keep my part-time people till the end of the year. The other request is that we had originally was going to convert a position that had been vacated, it was an administrative assistant position, into a staff CASA position to pull more funding up so that we would have more available into the county, because it's already a position we have. It's already sitting there. It's part of the juvenile budget. We were going to convert that from an administrative assistant role to a staff CASA role, because the administrative assistant role does not carry a caseload. They don't do anything to keep us within the mandate. They just basically oversaw mediation. They did some office stuff, but they didn't carry anything that made us meet our mandate. We were in the process of that. The person had been vacated from the position, but by losing those 2 positions now, the 1 position that we did lose, we have to move into that administrative assistant role because we have to keep it. It's for the Family Recovery Court, because the Family Recovery Court must have a dedicated staff CASA to it. This person is specially trained, receives countless hours of training, and what that staff CASA does, they do what a volunteer does in 1 month, in 1 week. They have a caseload of 25-plus cases, and they must see their children every week, attend court every week, write reports every week. So they are a very specialized position, and we cannot lose it, because not only will all of those cases go on the wait list, the Family Recovery Court would be in violation of what their requirements for their funding is. So it's 2 programs that would be objected by it. So we need to take this administrative position that is vacated, but now we need to move this staff person up to it, that is full-time, that was under VOCA, that we lost. We need to take that position, convert it to the staff CASA position, get rid of the administrative position. We don't need that job description. It's not even necessary. All of those duties they were doing can roll back into the original place where they need to go without any undue burdens or hardships or encumbrances to the program. 2 things I need is I need this $6,000 appropriation, and I need this job description wiped away and put a staff CASA position in there instead. That's what I need to maintain our program right now.
If that occurs, are you at a net loss of 1 at that point?
I'll be at a net loss of 2.
2 still? Okay.
But they are positions that we have already, I have spent the last 2 weeks since I've recovered from being in the hospital of doing complete restructuring of my program to shift and move caseloads to get things around to where, even though I'm still losing those positions, we will still be able to maintain the 0 wait list for this year. Next year, I cannot confirm that. That's what the $6,000 is for, is to keep us through the end of the year. But going into next year, we have currently right now a cash balance of our grant funds of $156,000 and some change. I need to hang on to that because I'm already running in a deficit for next year that I will have to have reappropriated into where I need for I have no money for operational expenses, copiers, national dues, our background checks. There's no money. Everything that I have coming in right now is covering bare minimum of just my staff. And that's not including all my staff. I'm still short staff. So I will have to make an appropriation in the early part of next year from this $156,000 to move up to my line item. I went to VOCA after the vote down of those 2 positions to ask if there was anything that I could ask for, if there was something else I could ask for to try to save my positions. And VOCA said that they could not do anything further. What money I'm getting is what money I'm getting.
Councilwoman Thies?
I can always look at things and say when I've either overlooked, misunderstood with budget, and I will fess up on this one. One of the big things that we said continually through the budget process is we don't want to hurt programming, and obviously this is hurting programming. So coming to us in January, we need to fix it and get it right and do what's right by your program. So I apologize for that when we were looking at no additional staffing. I think that's what hit you. And so I can admit when I've done something wrong, and I'm doing that now. My thing is we've worked hard to be proactive, and we've talked about that a lot on the council. We need to be proactive with our families, with our community, so that we can get them as much support, especially when they're younger. And so I would like to sit down with you at some point and try to figure out where or how we can remedy some of this. I appreciate you trying to get through to the end of the year. Just working with children every day, even though mine are older, I still know that there's a lot that have need and support, and I think a lot of us up here do. I can't speak for everyone, but that was a big thing, was we just don't want to hurt programming and support, and especially with our courts and some of the things we've done, like family recovery. So at some point we'll sit down, and that way I can understand things a little bit more too, and have a good grasp of it.
What has been the hardest right now for our program is we've had a lot of turnover because pay for our positions are very low. We know they are way below where they need to be, but we can only do with what we can with our grants. We've had a massive turnover in the last year of staff. And when we lose a position, we already deal with the dark side of our community, and I know that seems like a very awful word to use, but we do. We live in abuse and neglect and trauma and violence every day in our jobs, and it's very hard to deal with. And when we already are dealing with high numbers, high caseloads, high staff-to-child ratio, dwindling numbers of volunteers, we're dealing with a lot of other factors. And when we lose one staff member, even when we have a turnover and have to train someone, it's not like we hire someone in and they just immediately start the job. It's 90 days before we can even get them. So who's carrying that brunt of that caseload until that person gets properly trained? The other staff. You know, it's not just about dollars and cents. It's not about quantity versus quality. It's not those things. You can't write off child abuse. You can't write, these are our community people. These are our neighbors, our children that we go to school with, they're kids that we go to church with. These are the people that we're dealing with. These are lives, day in, day out. Losing one staff member, it adds all of those things triple, quadruple to one staff member. I mean, I have invited so many times for you to come meet my staff, talk to my staff, learn who they are, learn what they do, see how they are. We have had mileage taken away. Our budgets are cut. No one's getting raises. They just keep cutting away from us, and we're expected to still meet all these qualifications, still meet the standards. We have to abide by state law, Indiana code. We have to abide by it because it's law. We have to have a CASA assigned to every chins. And the more we get cut away from us, it's harder and harder and harder to do that job. This program for over 30 years had a wait list of over 200 kids or more. I promised when I became a director that I would get rid of that, and I did. Now we're here 2 years into it, and people, instead of lifting us up and supporting us and showing what and saying, yes, we know you're important and we're going to fight for you, we're having people cut us down. And then still expecting us to keep pushing. And I have an amazing staff, and I am truly humbled and blessed that I get to work every day with these people and my volunteers because they give it all as they walk through hell. And I just really can't fight hard enough for them because of what they do for these children. We had 4 adoptions. You know, that's our gold mark, you know. We've had reunifications, that's our gold mark. People still expect us to do, and we still keep fighting. I have staff members that only are supposed to be paid for 29 hours, but they donate more than that. You know, everyone knows how many hours I work a week. All my staff works. It's not something, it's not a 9 to 5. It's not an 8 to 4. It's 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year of dealing with abuse, trauma, and hell every day.
You said salaries were cut. Is that because of grant type things? Okay.
Yep, we were hoping to bring all of our staff up to $15 an hour this year, and because of the cuts and things, I've got people being paid $13, people being paid $14 an hour. You can go to Walmart and make more than that. But the people that I have in the positions are here to do the job because it's right, not because of the pay. And I thank you for the time. I do. I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm a little heated right now.
Councilman Wager?
Glenn, I want to say to you, you are a saint. You know, all these years, you come here and I hate to say that the story just gets worse and worse, and it does. I mean, they cut and cut and cut. You know, the state of Indiana brags about their $3 billion surplus. That's money we sent over there for them to do a job, and they brag about their surplus, but that's tax money that Hoosiers send for them to do a job, and that job that you're doing is just about as important a job of kids that are neglected, abused, yada, yada, and, you know, the song that you sing constantly to take care of those broken children. God bless you. We'll find money for you. We'll find it if we have to get us an aluminum beak and go out and pick the dirt with the chickens. We'll find it for you. I mean, you do the noblest job in the county. So we'll find it.
There are many people in the county that do a noble job.
Well, you're the conductor of the orchestra.
So Glenn, how long does it take you to, if you had an additional employee outside of the department currently, you're to hire somebody new as a full-time employee, how long does it take to get them up to speed to where you feel comfortable with them handling a caseload?
Well, to be quite honest, we would promote within. We would take current part-time staff that we have and promote
Part-timers.
them up. That's what we have to do with the current administrative position. That person is specially trained, and she's the only person that's trained in that. And so we have to move her to that position. We have to get that job description changed, because her job does not stop. We promote from the part-time to the full-time, and then we restructure the part-time, bring them in because we can do it at a slower capacity versus the full-time people. But we hire within, so that way they're ready to go right out the door. There's no additional training. We just get them going.
So it's seamless, it's just a larger caseload essentially?
Actually, right now, if we brought in full-time, they would carry a little bit higher caseload. Their structures would be a little bit different. They would have more time to work the cases. I mean, you got to stop and think. Over 9 of my staff are all part-time. They only get 29 hours a week. What can you do in 29 hours? When we're driving over 1,500 miles a week just to see all of our cases, we have no mileage. I mean, so having that additional hours, a lot of people are like, well, that doesn't seem like a lot. It's 35 hours a week. How is that? You'd be surprised at what my staff can do in an hour. They get a lot done. Whether it's court testimony, it's just we've restructured, we've created virtual caseloads. We're doing everything we possibly can so that we're making sure that those caseloads go down, so that people aren't burnt out, they aren't overwhelmed. I mean, it's just come spend a day with us. Come see court, watch what happens, see what we deal with. We'll have you sign the confidentiality forms. We'll take you with us. Come walk in this path with us. See it. See what we do. It's not something, we're just not sitting in an office. We're not just having parties. We're not just having Whoville and trunk or treats. Those are the very mild things. There's a lot of things that we do. And we invite you to come see it. Learn what's in our community. Learn what's out there. Learn what these families are dealing with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. So what she has spoke on also encompasses the next 2 items. Obviously, the salary ordinance 2022-18, ROC 2022-42, juvenile court, delete full-time administrative assistant, and salary ordinance 2022-19, ROC 2022-42, juvenile court, add full-time staff, CASA. So obviously, this is all tied together. Did you have something additional, or you? Okay. Any additional comments from council or questions for Glenna?
You don't have to get up. I just want to make sure you're okay. Your health issues
It's just a
resolved
heart
and-
attack. It's okay.
Okay.
I was back to work by Monday. We're good.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. I just want to make sure you're
I'm
okay.
perfectly fine, fighting strong.
Good.
But I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenna.
Just a heart attack.
Anything else from council? There's nothing else. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Wager. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Wilson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Pretty good.
I am